Good morning, everyone. It's Yvonne here. Welcome to our April 12th Mornings with Mayish. If you love garden roses, and who doesn't, then you want to stick around for today's show. I have David Austin from David Austin Roses as my very special guest. Learn more about the history of this iconic brand, along with how these unique roses are bred and how you have an amazing opportunity to create a David Austin wedding with our latest promotion that recently went live, guys. It's amazing. You're going to want to stick around for that. So in the meantime, while everyone's coming in, go ahead and say hello. Let us know where you are from. If you are new and you're watching the replay or listening to the podcast, welcome to all my people who are always here with me. Thank you for coming back. And as a reminder too, for anyone that is new, if you have any questions, be sure to put those in the comments below and we will get to those time permitting. All right, guys. Also, I wanted to make sure that you know that we are opening our 20th location in Raleigh, North Carolina. Woo! That's happening this summer, guys. I want to make sure everyone knows and help spread the word because we are looking for people to join our Mayish team. So be sure to send them over to our careers page to learn more about our openings and to apply. Very, very exciting opportunity. We cannot wait. I posted more information up on our blog. There's the press release there too if you wanted to check that out as well. But I posted the main mayish.com/careers link for you guys in the comments. Let me just check and make sure we're good to go on Instagram Live, which it looks like we're good there. So I am going to bring David on and we are going to get started. Good morning, David. How are you?
Good morning, Yvonne. I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
I am good. I'm happy to be here. It's a brand new day. We're actually doing mornings with Mayish in the morning for me, which I love. It's super early on the East Coast. Morning for me at 10 o'clock. And it is, what time is it over by you, David?
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I love that. I love that we have all these different time zones going on. So before we get started, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. But for those who may not know who you are, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your flower story?
Sure, yeah. I'm currently chairman of David Austin Roses. And the company was started by my father many years ago. He was actually a farmer originally, and his father actually was farming on this very site. So we've been on this site for 100 years, a celebration that we missed. Never mind, marketing team, we can do it another day. So yeah, my father was a farmer with his father until his mid-30s. But as a young man, he was very interested in gardening. And just up the road from us here, some lupins were introduced to a massive fanfare. Lupins originally only were blue, and we had a local breeder who bred lupins in many different colors, and a local nurseryman managed to put them on the market, and it created a massive stir locally. And my father remembered this event with great interest and got him into the idea of plant breeding. So as a youngster, he looked in the garden. He loved roses, but he liked old-fashioned roses with the big, lots of petals and loads of fragrance. And he noticed that at the time, you were talking about the 1940s maybe, that most gardens had hybrid teas, which, they're nice in their own way, but he didn't think they were as nice as these wonderful old roses. But he did work out that the reason why they were popular is because hybrid teas repeat flowered, whereas old roses only flowered once. And they also had more color, a wider color range. So he thought, well, why not go back to the old rose, breed in the ability to repeat flower and add the color. So as a very young man, that was his idea, but still as an amateur. Then in 1960, he took 3 roses that he'd bred to a guy called Graham Thomas, who is famous in the UK for being the top of his game in terms of horticultural expert, and said to Graham, do you like what I'm doing? What do you think of these 3 new varieties? And Graham took one look at them and said, I love them. I'm going to put them on the market for you. But at that time, he was he was still an amateur. And these 3 roses only flowered once. One of them was a rose called Constant Spry that is still grown today and very popular. But it took him another 10 years till 1970 before he had his first repeat flowering roses. And at that point, he decided the only way to get them onto the market was set up his own nursery. So in 1970, he set up his own nursery, selling 6 of his varieties and hundreds of old roses. Not going forward to 1982, Chelsea Flower Show, which I actually did with my father in 1980, the very first Chelsea Flower Show. That brought his work to the wider public. And all of a sudden, breeders or growers of roses, specialists in roses, were coming to him from all over the world saying, we love what you're doing. Can we have a license to sell in Australia, in America, all over the world? So that got him started. And then I joined the company full time in 1990, at which point my father went to just concentrate on the breeding and write his books and write the catalogue. I then decided, I was given the job of taking these amazing roses across the world and building this incredible business with the team here. And in the mid 90s, we thought, well, shrub roses in the garden, they're great, but we need to do cut flowers as well, because that's another sector that all breeders did. Rose breeders do both normally, both shrubs and cut flowers. So we thought, same thing's happening here. The hybrid tea was dominant. Why don't we put on the market these amazing multi-petal, highly fragrant roses? And we started work on that, and it took another 10 years. So about 2004, when we had our first cut flowers, one of which was Juliet, which really hit the market with a bang. Everybody wanted Juliet. It was so unique, and still is, our biggest seller. Totally beautiful. And obviously since 2004, we've gone on to build a collection now, which we now have 16 different varieties now of cut flowers. So I hope that all makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So as you were growing up, David, with your father, did you also get into gardening, or did you have just completely different interests? Were you more interested in the business side? How was that for you growing up in the industry? So my husband, for example, he grew up in the industry too, riding his little big wheel through warehouses and greenhouses and all of that. And, so I'd love to hear what was little David Austin like.
Well, I know where I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. I have an older sister and a younger brother. There's only 3 years between us, and we were each given a plot to grow stuff. My plot was the best, so I got into it, and so that was my first introduction to gardening. And then we moved from here for a short while, and I started to grow vegetables. I can't remember why, but when I was 14 years old, I love sweet corn. So I love sweet corn and peas. So I grew sweet corn and peas, and that really good. So from the age of 14, I've been growing vegetables. I planted broad beans yesterday in my veg patch. I do it myself. So I'm very much a gardener, but I didn't know I had a passion for gardening. But that came much later when I got married in my mid-20s. I realized I absolutely love gardening, and I've been a passionate gardener ever since. So that was my introduction. And in terms of roses, it was a means of earning money as a young teenager. I wanted to buy a new bike. I wanted to buy a motorbike. So I used to work on the nursery in the summer, at a time when there were probably 20 people working on the nursery. We now employ over 250 people in 3 different countries. But there were 20 of us, and I was the guy with the catalogue with how many we wanted to bud. So I'd go up the field and cut the wood and get it down, and we'd leaf and thorn it in what is my father's garage now. So it's really on the site here. So I've seen it right from the beginning of the whole thing. So that was my introduction.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I love it. Thank you for sharing that story. So you mentioned that you joined the company in the 90s officially. Yeah. And did you kind of start I know you said you were in charge of kind of expanding that and getting your roses all over the world, but is that where you started, or did you kind of, do some
Yeah,
other things to kind of learn more about the business, or was it just natural since you grew up in it?
there's a little bit more to the story. I wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since I can remember, and there's lots of entrepreneurs in the family. My mother's family were bookbinders locally. My grandfather was a farmer. Obviously, that's entrepreneurial. So, and I went to do a business degree at university, and then when I left, my father persuaded me to join the company when I was 21, when the company was still really small. And to be quite honest, there wasn't enough for me to get my teeth into, and I was a little bit bored, if I'm honest. So I actually, my first wife, my ex-wife, we went into business. She was in the jewelry business, and that had more opportunities at the time. But I remember when I left my father, I can remember the exact conversation. I said, Dad, this is going to be massive one day. It's going to be huge. It's got everything. It's got everything. And I returned basically 10 years later when the business was bigger. And my father by now was in his 60s, and he was really, it was, what was going was too big. It was too much for him. He needed help, and he loved his breeding and he loved his writing. So really from that point, he said, there you go, David, you've had your experience in another business. You've worked here before. Over to you. You get on with it. That's what I did. Which is great. It was great. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You mentioned a little bit about the breeding part, right? And kind of like how things take 10 years. Can you describe a little bit more about the breeding process for those of us who may not know? And I'll raise my hand because, that's all new to me.
My little phrase is, I can teach you in a minute, if you're at the nursery, how to breed a rose. It'll take you 20 years to get any good at it. So it's a very simple process of taking the pollen from one variety and putting it on the stamens of another variety. So the process of breeding is very simple. And then obviously there's technicalities about how you ripen the hips, and you have to put them in a cold store over winter, and then you bash them with a hammer, and you open up the seed pod, and there might be no seeds, there might be 100 seeds. But what you know is every single seed is different. But we do that on a massive scale. But the first thing is, like any breeding, you've got to have an objective. So in my father's case, he knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted repeat flowering, he wanted a wider color range, but he wanted to retain that look and feel of the old-fashioned rose. So the concept was clear in his mind. We now have 11 different lines of breeding in the shrub rose business, and also we have the cut rose business that runs alongside breeding. So you know where you're going, and then it's about scale. So every cross pollination is done by hand with a paintbrush, and we do roughly 60,000 of those crosses, and those 60,000 crosses will produce something like 100,000 seeds. And maybe not all of them will germinate, but you might get 60,000 seeds that you actually germinate, then need to be planted out in special beds in a greenhouse. So it's a massively intense, big scale operation. And that's then the real hard work comes from reducing 60,000 seedlings over a period of 10 years to maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 that are good enough to go on the market. And that encompasses both shrub roses and cut roses. So it's a massive scale and a process of elimination. And in the case of a shrub rose, it takes, if you put a shrub rose in the garden, it takes you 4 years to know what you've got. At least with a cut rose, within a year, you know whether that rose is good enough in terms of it can perform to that level. But then you need to have shipping trials over probably 2 years, ideally once a month. You need shipping trials to check that those roses really can be consistent throughout the year. The biggest problem with cut flowers is botrytis. So that's the thing it's the Achilles heel of rose breeding, I would say. If you can eliminate botrytis, cut rose breeding will be a hell of a lot easier, but it's not easy. So
right.
It's about scale.
Right, right. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I had a question coming in from Martha. She says, "Hello, David. What is your favorite flower story or moment?"
Our story.
Yeah. Or maybe a funny one or anything like that. Funny, favorite, anything stand out?
I think you've got me on that one. Can you ask me another one, Yvonne?
Yeah. I'll ask you another one. And if you think of something, just let me know.
Well,
So you mentioned that the most popular variety of cut rose from David Austin is Juliet, and there's 16 other different varieties. Do you have a list of any other ones that are like really popular?
yeah, I'm going to answer your question first. I've thought of something.
Okay, yeah.
My father, when he started becoming established in the rose business, you become a member of the Rose Breeders Association, and we were the minnow. And there are these big names, Harkness, Cants, all these names are way bigger than us. One of McGreedy's another one, and one of the breeders came up to my dad and said, "David, love what you're doing. It'll be a fad. I think you need to grow some hybrid teas, otherwise you'll be out of business." So I think he proved them wrong. So yeah,
Just a little bit.
yeah. So, and he did show a great deal of persistence as well. So the second question, in terms of the varieties that you want to know about, the varieties that we currently have on the market, is that the question, Yvonne?
Yeah, and not all of them, because we can send them to, look at that. But what are like the most popular ones other than Juliet?
Yeah. Kira is really popular, which is a white blushed with pink. You've got Patience is very, very popular still. And probably the number 4 is Tess, which is a deep red. So they're the 4 most popular. But if I was to pick varieties out myself now, today, we've got a variety behind me here, which you may not be able to see on your screen, but that's called Leonora, which we think is absolutely exceptional. It's an exceptional variety. It's a nice large flower. In fact, I can probably pull one out just in case you can't see it. So that is that rose there. Okay,
Beautiful.
Leonora. It's super to transport. It's beautiful. It opens really well. It's very disease resistant. It is fragrant. It's got everything. So that for me is the next big variety for David Austin, I think.
Love it, love it. Let's see. Someone's asking about rose bushes, which that's not really our thing, but I'll ask the question. So Patricia Brown says, "What a great surprise! I'm waiting for my shipment of 3 rose bushes I ordered in February. I can't wait." She stopped growing roses a while back due to beetles. Is there anything that she can do to keep pests at bay? Totally off topic, but do you know any good, real, like 10-second tip for her?
Yeah, I mean, it's specialist to the US market, but there will be products out there that you can buy from your local garden centre. And if you go to our website for the shrub roses, you will find all the advice you need on how to care for your shrub roses. So, yeah,
Very good.
I can't name you the exact products.
That works. So Sherry in Wonderland on Instagram asks, "Why don't roses you buy smell anymore?" Well, I don't think that's the case with your roses, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is going back to the initial concept that in both cases, in cases of the shrub rose market, breeders have left fragrance out. And I can remember being told by one of the breeders, "You can't smell a catalogue." So they thought that it wasn't important. I mean, it was ridiculous. It's an essential element of roses. And the same in cut roses. There's not a lot of fragrance in cut roses. Now, one of the problems with fragrance is connected a little bit with ethanol production. So that shortens the vase life a little bit. But we've proven that you can get relatively long vase life and have fragrant roses, but it's more of a challenge. So I think the reason you don't get fragrance in a lot of breeding is because it is more difficult to achieve, but you just have to work that little bit harder. And once you've got it in your gene pool, as we've got in our varieties, you know, we obviously dip into the sub rose gene pool all the time and bring that into the breeding. So it's a matter of just putting the effort in and really going for fragrance. It's essential. I mean, we have a couple of varieties that are in trial. One's called Osgoose, but that's an appellation, and it lasts up to 20 days, and it's got the David Austin flower shake. It's a lilac pink. It's absolutely stunning, but it's got no fragrance. So we're going, what do we do? What do we do with this variety? And we haven't decided yet, but maybe we have to introduce a section for long-lasting, non-fragrant, and keep the fragrant ones as the premium that the ultimate rose is.
Right. That'd be interesting. People that are watching, share your thoughts. What do you think? I love the fragrance. I think that's what makes David Austin so special. And obviously the shape, they're beautiful, beautiful roses, the best of the best. But would you be interested in a David Austin rose that has no fragrance or little fragrance, but it lasts longer? Let us know in the comments if you want to share that. So David, we've been working together, our two teams, on a new promotion called a David Austin Wedding. Can you tell us a little bit more about this exciting program? Because our customers are already loving it, and I just want to make sure everyone knows about what it is. And while you're talking, I'm going to share the link to our landing page so that way they can learn more. But I know you're the best person to explain this to everyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, America has been a fabulous market for us for David Austin roses, and I think the florists have done a magnificent job. But we spent a bit of time looking at how they're being sold and where they're being sold, and we've discovered that the average order size for David Austin roses is relatively small. And what we really would like to see, you know, if you're having a wedding or event, we'd like to see David Austin roses throughout the event. And I think when you use our roses en masse, you get what we call a wow factor. You know, they're absolutely stunning. So we want to encourage the florists to use our roses on a much bigger scale than they're currently doing. So we put together this wedding package of three different collections of roses, which I don't know whether you need me to go into that, but each one has 500 stems of 3 different varieties, and there will be. We've collaborated both with the grower and with Yvonne and the Mayesh team here to bring a package together that we can offer a reduced price or a beneficial price to encourage you guys to have a go at creating a David Austin wedding. And I think you'll be amazed how fantastic they look when they're used throughout a wedding.
Yes, absolutely. And so, guys, on that landing page too, that I just put a link for, you can see the 3 packages that David mentioned. It's Pretty in Pink, Peaches and Cream, and Shades of White. So all very popular palettes that I think everyone's going to be really, really proud of and happy to work with and show their clients. And then there's like a guide to rose quantities on that page too. So you can kind of see how many roses are used in each of the designs. And then there's an order form. It's like super, super easy. I hope that you check it out. And then make sure that you stay tuned because we just worked with Gilberto, one of our design stars from last year. You guys remember his work. It's beautiful and gorgeous and romantic. And he definitely is like moody and colorful, and that's his signature look. And so he took a Pretty in Pink pack and use that, and we have some amazing images and video to share with you very soon. So that's going to be really cool to share with you guys. And then you'll see kind of all the, you know, David Austin is known for their romantic garden English style look. So that's kind of the pictures that you'll see on our landing page too. So we wanted to just share that with you guys. Make sure that you are aware. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to your sales rep. You can order through them too. You don't have to use the order form. I hope that you check it out. So because it is amazing. Very good. All right. So, David, I am going to share your guys' Instagram. So that way, if you guys, that everyone's watching or listening or, listening to the replay later, you can check them out and connect with them. And then if you want to check out the rest of the roses, you can visit davidaustin.com as well, guys. Let me see. Come to Canada. I have a question asking if we're going to ship to Canada. So there was definitely some issue shipping to Canada during the pandemic. I'll have to check with Miami. They're our branch that ships typically more international to Canada and some of the islands that are down here. So I'll have to get back to you. But if you are connected with Manish already, you can ask the rep. You can always register too, and we'll get you connected with someone as well. I see Anna saying Gilberto did an awesome job. Good work, guys. Thanks, Anna, for listening. And do you have any last thoughts that you want to leave us with, David, before we wrap up today?
I think we're just really proud of the work we've done. I'm proud to be continuing the work of my father here at the nursery. He passed away just over 2 years ago, and I think he would be he was amazed with how much success he achieved with his roses. But to see that going on would be great for him. And also to say that my son also is now in the company. He is now going to be running the shrub division, and I'm going to concentrate on the cut flowers. So I'm really excited about the potential, the further potential, and we're looking to breed a lot more. So we have increased the breeding here at the nursery so that we can maybe introduce a few more roses for you guys to enjoy. And we're really excited about the future.
Yeah, that's amazing. And hey, if you ever want to come back on and show us what you're breeding and you want to get feedback from people live, I think people would be down for that. I know I would be. I like to get a sneak peek at what's going on and what might be happening, years from now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it, Mark. I'm sure something can be arranged.
I know, I'm always looking for those sneak peeks. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining me. It was lovely having you on. I know you're a busy guy, so I really appreciate it. You just got home from traveling, and I'm sure you have a bazillion things to do to catch up. So again, thank you for your time today.
Absolute pleasure, Yvonne. Thank you.
Yes, this was awesome. And guys, that's a wrap on today's Mornings with Mayish. Be sure to join us next week on Wednesday, April 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. I have Charla of Charlotte Flock Designs as my special guest. And so stay tuned for more details, and I will see you soon. Bye, everyone.